Welcome to Byte-Sized Tech, where we blend casual conversations with insightful discussions on the latest in technology and gadgets.
It really is nonstop, isn't it?
Seriously, blink and there's another mind-blowing innovation or a tech giant pulling a complete 180. It's a lot, right?
Yeah.
You want to know what's important without needing like a decoder ring for Silicon Valley jargon?
Exactly. Think of this as your shortcut through the tech noise. We've taken a look at what the folks at Bloomberg Technology have been reporting, kind of zeroed in on the crucial stuff, and, well, we're here to break it down for you.
Okay.
Today, we're diving into some key shifts in the AI world, a bit of global tech maneuvering, and, where the smart money is going.
Okay, so let's jump right in. Anthropic, they're the ones always talking about making AI safe, which, sounds like the right thing to do, but how's it actually working out for their business?
Well, what's interesting is that Anthropic seems to be proving that ethical AI can also be good business. Their revenue projections have reportedly doubled.
Yeah.
To $2 billion this year. Yeah. That's pretty rapid growth for a company led by Dario Amodei, who actually started out in biophysics.
Biophysics, huh?
Yeah, it makes you wonder how that scientific rigor influences their strategy in this wild west of AI.
A scientist leading a multi-billion-dollar AI company, definitely not your typical Silicon Valley origin story.
Yeah.
And apparently a big part of their growth is in coding agents. For those of us not fluent in tech speak, what exactly are those?
Right. Think of coding agents as AI-powered assistants for programmers. They can sort of understand what a developer wants to do and automatically write lines of code.
Oh, okay.
Kind of like super smart autocomplete on steroids.
Right.
If Anthropic has a strong lead here, it's a significant advantage. Speeds up software development.
There's always a but, isn't there?
Well, yeah. It also raises questions, about how this technology might impact the future roles of software engineers. Amodei himself has acknowledged that.
So faster code, thanks to AI, but maybe fewer coders needed down the line. It's a classic tech double-edged sword. Now, let's switch gears to Apple. They're usually fashionably late to the party, but then end up owning the dance floor. Remember smartphones?
Oh, yeah. Tablets, watches, they have a pattern.
But with AI, it feels different. It feels like they're still outside trying to figure out how to get in.
That's a fair assessment, I think.
Yeah.
Historically, Apple has excelled at taking existing tech and, refining it into incredibly user-friendly and desirable products.
Right, polishing it up.
Exactly. But current reports suggest they're behind other major players in the AI race. That launch of ChatGPT in 2022 reportedly caught them off guard.
And we can't forget Siri, their early voice assistant.
Right. Showed promise, but never quite reached its full potential, did it?
No.
Yeah.
We've all had those moments of talking to our phones and getting, well, let's just say unexpected results.
Nothing.
And they even brought in a big gun from Google, John Giannandrea, to head up their AI efforts back in 2018. What happened there?
Yeah, bringing in Giannandrea was a clear signal. Apple was serious. Former head of search and AI at Google. Huge expertise.
You'd think that would be the key.
You would. But despite that key hire and presumably substantial investment, a major AI breakthrough from Apple hasn't materialized. It seems like a combination of factors.
And not just engineering.
No. Reports suggest marketing, maybe finance, overall software strategy. Issues played a role too. It just highlights that even for a company as powerful as Apple, cracking the AI puzzle isn't straightforward.
It sounds like while some tech giants are sprinting ahead in AI, others are stumbling a bit. But it's not just the usual suspects in the U.S. that are making moves, right? There's a lot of buzz around AI investment in the Middle East.
Absolutely. There's a significant increase in interest and funding for AI startups there. STV, a major venture capital firm in the region.
Right.
They recently launched a $1.5 billion fund specifically focused on AI applications.
$1.5 billion just for applications.
Yep. And you have to remember, this region has been successfully building its tech sector. They've got a growing number of startups reaching billion-dollar valuations, the unicorns and companies getting ready for IPOs.
So the ecosystem is already there, and now they're pouring fuel on the AI fire. What kind of applications are they looking at with this fund?
Seems like practical uses of AI. Things like improving customer service, automating tasks for businesses, that kind of thing.
Okay, real-world stuff.
Exactly. And interestingly, Google is backing this fund.
Ooh.
Yeah. And they're aiming to attract even more international investment. What seems to be happening is a sort of division of labor. Sovereign wealth funds in the region are investing heavily in the underlying AI infrastructure.
Like data centers, the big models.
Right, the foundational stuff.
Right.
While private equity firms like STV are funding the companies, building the specific applications on top of that infrastructure.
Ah, okay. So it's a complementary approach.
Yeah, it suggests a maturing and, frankly, pretty ambitious tech ecosystem.
Building a whole new AI hub, it sounds like. Ambitious is right. Now, shifting gears again, there's been some interesting news about science funding here in the U.S., especially when we talk about staying competitive with China.
This is a really important point. Lux Capital, a venture firm, has pledged $100 million to support American scientists and researchers who are facing funding gaps.
$100 million just for that. Why now?
Well, they're framing this in the context of a decline in U.S. federal science funding. Apparently, it's at its lowest level in decades relative to GDP.
Lowest in decades. Wow.
Yeah, and that raises serious concerns about our ability to compete globally, particularly with China.
Right. The idea that strong science funding fuels innovation and keeps us ahead. So where's the debate here? What kind of science should be getting the dollars?
Well, the White House Office for Science and Technology seems to be prioritizing funding for specific, maybe more near-term areas like AI and quantum computing, key strategic sectors.
Okay, the hot topics.
Right. Lux Capital, on the other hand, is arguing for the importance of funding more fundamental, kind of serendipitous research, stuff that might not have immediate applications.
Like basic science.
Exactly. They point to the development of mRNA vaccines as a prime example came out of basic science research that wasn't initially aimed at vaccines. Their view is that venture capital then steps in to commercialize those discoveries later.
So a bit of a tension between funding what seems hot right now versus the longer-term, potentially game-changing stuff you can't predict.
Precisely. And the competition with China is really driving this whole conversation, isn't it?
It seemed like it.
Absolutely. NVIDIA's Jensen Huang has even pointed out that something like half of all AI research is happening in China or being done by Chinese researchers.
Half. That's staggering.
It is. And there's a growing concern that the U.S. is losing ground in numerous critical technology areas. I think the number was nearly 40 out of 44 identified areas.
Ooh.
And China is also strategically guiding its young people towards fields like biotech, aerospace, materials, science.
They're playing the long game.
Very much so. And Lux Capital's decision to even lower their bar for initial scientific proof, in some investments down to like 50% confidence, that really reflects the urgency they feel about this global race.
Wow, lowering the bar, that really underscores the intensity. Okay, let's talk about Jensen Huang and NVIDIA then. He's not just selling chips. He seems to be playing a kind of chip diplomacy on a global scale.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Chip diplomacy.
Okay.
Huang has been very actively cultivating relationships, particularly with Taiwan.
Right, TSMC's home turf.
Exactly. NVIDIA is planning to build a major supercomputer there in partnership with TSMC and other Taiwanese companies. Given Taiwan's crucial role in semiconductors and its strong ties with the U.S., this is a significant geopolitical move in the tech world.
So he's like a tech ambassador as much as a CEO sometimes.
Kind of feels like it.
And it's not just Taiwan, is it? He's also been making deals in the Middle East.
Right. NVIDIA has also announced deals to share advanced chips with Saudi Arabia and the UAE.
The same countries investing heavily in AI.
The very same. They also have ambitions to become AI leaders. This, however, brings up some tricky questions.
Like security.
Like potential indirect access for China to U.S. technology through these Gulf deals. It's a real balancing act between promoting the adoption of American tech and ensuring security controls are in place.
A real tightrope walk. You want to grow your business globally, but you also need to be mindful of who ultimately benefits from your most advanced technology.
Absolutely.
And didn't NVIDIA also announce a new research center in Shanghai around the same time?
Yes, this simultaneous activity, Taiwan, the Gulf, China, it highlights the complexity of NVIDIA's global strategy. They're a multinational company juggling diverse interests. You can bet governments are keeping a close eye on how these business moves align with national security.
It's a global game of chess played with silicon. Now, within its own world, NVIDIA is also making some interesting moves, kind of opening up its ecosystem a bit, even to potential competitors.
Yeah, what's noteworthy there is NVIDIA's introduction of NVLink Fusion. This technology essentially allows the giant cloud computing companies, your Amazons, Googles, Microsofts, who are increasingly designing their own specialized chips.
Their own silicon, right?
Exactly. It lets them integrate their custom silicon more effectively into data centers that are still largely dominated by NVIDIA hardware, especially the GPUs.
So even if you're not all in on NVIDIA chips for everything, you can still play nicely in their sandbox. What's the strategy there? Is it defensive?
It's probably a smart business move, really. As some of their biggest customers develop their own competing tech, this makes it easier for them to remain within NVIDIA's broader ecosystem. It's a way for NVIDIA to maintain its dominant position while adapting to that changing hardware landscape.
Keep them in the tent.
Pretty much. We also saw a huge NVIDIA presence at the recent Computex trade show. Announcements spanning AI infrastructure, robotics, new server design.
They're everywhere.
And even an appearance by Qualcomm's CEO on stage with NVIDIA, which was interesting, hinting at potential collaboration, maybe Qualcomm trying to get into the data center market by, well, working with the leader.
Pragmatic. Okay. Interesting times indeed. All this rapid innovation, massive investment. Does it ever make the stock market a bit queasy? We've seen some ups and downs in tech stocks lately.
Yes, the tech sector has definitely experienced some volatility. Things outside tech, like the recent U.S. credit rating downgrade, have contributed to broader market uncertainty.
Ripples across the pond.
Exactly. But specific to tech, there's also likely a bit of a reassessment happening. Maybe a reality check on the sheer scale and speed of these massive investments we've seen in AI infrastructure deals, the ones involving NVIDIA, Supermicro, Dell, serving the U.S. and those Gulf nations we mentioned.
So people asking if the spending is sustainable at this pace.
Potentially. And of course, after such a strong run for the tech sector, some investors may simply be taking profits. That's normal market behavior.
Okay, so maybe a little bit of a breather after a period of intense growth. But the fundamental demand for AI technology itself, that's still strong, right?
That certainly appears to be the case. If you look at Q1 earnings for many big tech companies, they showed solid performance that went beyond just the AI hype, underlying strength in their core businesses too.
Right.
And while some secondary data, like say reports on data center leasing activity, can sometimes create conflicting signals or noise,
Yeah.
the primary data, what companies are saying on their earnings calls, still suggests really strong demand for AI infrastructure.
Yeah.
You look at Microsoft, for example. Significant investments in long-term assets, actual land and buildings for future data centers to meet this rising AI demand. Their strategic adjustments in data center leases also just reflect the complexities of managing this incredibly rapid growth. Sometimes you lease, sometimes you build, sometimes plans change.
Makes sense. Managing that explosion in demand is tricky.
And it's interesting, too, we've seen varying stock performance among the major cloud providers this year. Microsoft's been up, while Amazon and Alphabet have maybe been under a bit more pressure. Could be linked to different approaches to cloud capacity or AI infrastructure rollout.
And Microsoft's OpenAI relationship probably helps perceptions there, too.
Very likely. Their close relationship with OpenAI and their strategy of integrating various AI models, not just focusing solely on building the absolute biggest models themselves, seems to be resonating well with the market right now. It's about providing access and tools.
So lots of moving pieces, lots of different strategies playing out, and huge amounts of money being bet on the future. It definitely feels like we're right in the middle of a major technological shift.
Absolutely. The speed of AI development, the intense global competition it's fueling, and these massive investment flows we're seeing. It's all part of a dynamic and complex picture.
Yeah.
And it's going to keep evolving rapidly.
Well, this has been a fascinating look at what's happening behind the tech headlines. It really makes you think about how all these different developments, safety, competition, investment, diplomacy, are all interconnected.
It certainly does. And maybe it raises an important question for you, the listener, to consider. As this technological landscape keeps transforming at warp speed, what are the most critical factors you think we should be paying attention to, both as individuals and, as part of this larger global society?
Definitely gives you food for thought. Thanks for tuning in to Byte-Sized Tech. If you enjoyed the episode, like, comment, share, and subscribe for more fun tech discussions.